But you guys know we love fighting around here. It is one of our favorite things to talk about on this show. And Titan FC, they got a card coming up Friday, Titan FC 58 at Extreme Action Park. Fantastic place to watch fights. Leroy and I have done that.
It is.
It
You
is
guys,
a great time.
Don't sleep. Don't sleep. I had a blast. It was fun. It was my first MMA fight was there.
Yeah, so we got Lex.
First card was there, and I had me a blast.
Well, I'm glad we kept you entertained, Leroy,
Yeah.
because the last thing I want to do is have my man not entertained.
he is all about now. But Lex McMahon is here with us, who runs Titan FC, and this was interesting. This was from the start, man. When you guys announced that you were going to have Yoel Diaz on your card, because for those
the monster,
he is he's known in the boxing circles around here, because Leroy and I have been to your fights at Hard Rock, and I think you guys were mentioning this walking down the hall about the crowd that you bring. Like it is a packed house when you are on a fight night. You bring a lot of people.
Yes, sir. I bring Miami out. Thank God for that. Miami's behind me, and they're coming out to this fight for sure too.
What made you want to make the move, though? Why the jump from boxing to UFC? You had a big time record. You were knocking fools out, but you decided to make the jump over to MMA. What made you do it?
You know what? It was it started on a conversation. I was there. I was in the middle of a conversation when Lex was talking to Bean, which is part of my management team, and I threw it out there. I said, "Hey, man, throw me in there with a striker one of these events." Yeah, we laughed it off. Or they laughed it off. I was kind of serious, I left, and 30 minutes later, I got the call. He's like, "Hey, get ready. December 20, you're going to make your debut." So, this is something I really wanted to do. I've been, I love boxing. I'm going to stick with boxing also. I still got to defend the title. I just won in October. But, you know what? I wanna prove to myself that I can do this, and it's something I've been wanting to do for many years. So it's a dream come true for me.
Was it what made you interested in it, Lex? Why was it? I know something maybe that you guys laughed off, but then when you pondered on it, what made you want to go with Yoel?
Well, I think the only reason we laughed it off was, MMA is such a diverse game, and Yoel is a dominant striker, 12-1 with 11 KOs. He sleeps dudes. Like, bottom line, he puts them to sleep. That's what he does. But MMA is so much more. And so at first I was like, man, you're kicking ass, and you're doing such a great job in boxing. Why make the transition? And then I talked to his managers, and they said, listen, there's more to Yoel. There's a story here, what his background is, how he uses fighting. I mean, he says it all the time, fighting saved his life.
Right.
And he advocates in a really positive way in working with the kids and showing how you can change your life through sports, and in particular, the martial arts and boxing and fighting. And as soon as I heard that, I was in. And then, obviously, like you, I've been to all the fights down here where Yoel just brings a grip of people.
Yeah.
And as a promoter, man, I'm not mad at ticket sales,
No doubt.
So it was an easy discussion. Then it was all about just making sure he was properly prepared, and so we got him hooked up, and he's been training with Yoel Romero, and I'll let Yoel tell you about that, because it's been a heck of an experience. I've gone down there and trained with him a few times.
Well, Yoel's a monster.
No,
he is
no doubt.
I know you're the monster, Yoel, but that guy, I've seen him fight in person. He's one of the scariest individuals that could ever grace the cage.
Listen, that guy,
how did you get hooked up with him, and what has that been like?
Well, Yoel's been a friend of mine from before. He's come to many of my boxing matches. He's walked me out for a couple fights. So it was it was a perfect match. As soon as I turned it to MMA, Lex and my management team put me together, and I got in camp with Yoel. And listen, there's no other word for that guy. You know what I mean? That guy. I'll take my title monster and I'll give it to him if he wants. That guy's a beast. If you could just be playing with the guy and you happen to hit him, you're gonna hurt yourself. You know what I mean? This guy's an elite athlete. He's, a two-time Olympian, many times over world winner. So it was just again a blessing for me to be able to be a part of that camp.
Why did fighting save your life?
I'm a guy from. I've gotten in a lot of trouble in my life. Fighting has gotten me in a lot of trouble in my life, and I turned my way of thinking around. I turned my energy around. I'm surrounded with positive people. I do nothing but read positive things that keep me motivated and things. And fighting went from something that was getting me in trouble and sent me to prison to something that now I consider it saved my life, because I'm using it in a positive way. I'm doing it the right way. I'm doing it professionally. I'm getting paid for it now, which is, man, I couldn't, and I'm rare in this game because I entered the game professionally at 35 years old. I'm 38 now, 3 years in the game, and not to pat myself on the back or boast for myself, but I'm doing a lot more than a lot of guys who've been in the game have been, because I'm really, I have no time to waste, and I'm grinding.
You're passionate.
You know? I'm
That's
very
what it is,
passionate
brother.
about it.
You're
Yes, sir.
passionate.
Was there like a discipline thing that you learned in jail? That was a famous thing with Bernard Hopkins, where went to jail and came out, became world champion, and all that kind of stuff. What was it about in there that made you turn around? And then when did you know you could do it professionally, make a living like this?
Well, I did my amateur career about 20 years ago. I used to do about 19, 20 years ago. I did NAGA competitions. I did jiu-jitsu. I was into MMA, so I always loved it, and you get in these fights in the streets, and then you get in trouble, and then people who care about you be like, man, they throw in like, hey, why don't you try this and get paid for it, But I was too caught up in things out there in the world and trying to make money, and I got 3 kids. I'm trying to raise a family, and I'm trying to figure myself out at the same time. And 3 years ago, I was living in Colorado. I was sitting at home by myself, and I really had, what I call an epiphany. It just hit me. I was like, yo, I'm 35. And I looked at myself. What am I going to be doing when I'm 45? Am I going to be, what the hell am I going to be doing? And I still haven't done what I wanted to do, which is I love fighting. I love it because throughout my life, I've always stayed in the gym. I always trained. I always stayed competitive in gyms and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? I just got to give this a try. I moved back to Miami. I gave everything up and everybody up, and I cut everything off, changed numbers, did everything I needed to do, and just stuck with it. And just like in life, nothing is a straight line. Success is not a straight line. I've had my bumps in the road. I've had my little failures where I feel like I celebrated a couple wins too early and too long, you know what I mean? And but I got back off that. I realized what I was doing, and I have no time to waste, especially at this age. And at this time, you know what I mean? Everybody that has my back they don't want to see me waste any time. So, right now it's full steam ahead with what's going on. MMA, boxing, everything that has to do with this.
I kind of have a question for both of you guys, but I saw that you guys have dubbed him kind of your own BMF, which has kind of made a big splash with Jorge Masvidal's year in UFC and the whole BMF felt between him and Nate. But, we were talking about this earlier in the show today, and I found it fascinating that it's kind of taken the UFC so long to embrace that street fighter part of Jorge, because that was such a big thing with Kimbo Slice. No matter what part of his career, people were fascinated by watching Kimbo. And having a guy from Miami, Yuli, who's had the kind of life that you've had, like, do you still embrace all that, where like knowing that you came from a hard place and having that marketed towards your career?
I embrace it fully. I have no problems talking about anything that's happened in my life. So, and big shout out to Jorge Masvidal. He came from that, and he's a perfect example of what you could do from fighting on the street to professionally fighting. And I feel like they've embraced it now, because George has been in the game like 16, 17 years, you know what I mean? So like, and he should have got his light a long time ago, but everything has its timing, and it's coming out now, and he is a bad mofo, so so a lot of props to him, and it's so awesome that he's from Miami, you know what I mean? And he's making a way for us, guys like me,
What do you think about that, Lex? Like the idea of marketed towards the hard place where these guys come from, and fans being fascinated by that.
Well, I mean, I think there's several components. Just to answer the question about why Masvidal, it's taken some time. I think George finally began to understand that he's more than just a fighter. He's an entertainer.
Yeah.
And I think for the athletes that recognize that they have a responsibility to market themselves through, telling their story in some form or fashion, they're the ones that ultimately rise above. You look at a guy like Conor McGregor, you look at even Colby, everybody, listen, Colby happens to be a nice guy. He's played the heel. He's made a ton of money. Yeah, he got his butt kicked this past weekend. But guess what? One guy out of 2 guys has that happen to him every single time they step into the cage. Mm-hmm. But guess what? Colby got paid. So, I say that because it's part of the process. It's part of this part of the game, But in terms of marketing where these guys come from, I look at it from a different perspective. Yes, it's their story, and I think it's important to tell their story. But when I tell it, I look at, what are you doing now, right? Because we all in life make mistakes. We all have things happen to us. We're born into circumstance. But what have you done to rise above? And in Yuli's instant, what he has done is he's learned some hard lessons. But what I love, and I've been with him when he's done it, is he brings these kids and he hugs them, man, and he says, man, you can do it. I got faith in you. I believe in you. Because people didn't do that for him, and he's learned. And so when I tell the story, that's a big part of what I'm telling. Does it pull on the heartstrings and all that and help us sell things? Yeah. But I'm genuinely telling that story because it's showing the good work he's doing.
and it is genuine. You know what I mean? And everything that's happening is real and genuine. And sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good, man.
And back to what we were saying too. These guys, you know, like Kobe and them. Like I used to train with Kobe. Kobe was actually a nice guy. You know what I mean? Away from the cameras and stuff, he is a great guy. But these guys put on personas. One thing I like about George isn't putting on a persona. That's
he's
him.
real.
You know, he's real. Yeah, he's real. You know, he is crucifying guys out there. He's street baptizing them, you know?
The resurrection.
How about how has it felt with the smaller gloves on, being out there and all that stuff? Have you liked the feeling as a guy who likes to go knock fools out?
I love it, man. I love it. It's been awesome, and practice has been awesome, you know what I mean? We this week has been really tightening up. We did a couple little sparring sessions, and I'm letting these hands fly, bro, and you know, we've had a couple little incidents in the gym, so I'm ready. I'm ready to do it.
Testy?
Yeah. You know, it's a fight game.
You always bring out the crowd here in South Florida, but for those who haven't seen you fight before, like, what is some last words you want to let Miami, South Florida know to come on out to Extreme Action Park on Friday to maybe watch you make your MMA debut?
You guys want to see a dead body? I'll see you guys Friday at Extreme Action Park, December 20. Come watch me get my MMA debut and watch 10 other guys, you know what I mean, that we're all going to war that night. We're all here to entertain the crowd and do what we do. And, man, it's gonna be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Come on, watch.
Yo, I'm glad we finally got to do this, man. It was great having you in. Hope we could do it again down the road for sure. Lex, always enjoy having you in, man. Anything else you want to let people know before we get out of here about Friday's card?
Yeah, just, come on down. As always, we're putting on great cards. We got title fights. We got, Yuli's fight, which, again, is going to be, I think, an incredible experience. And then we've got some really exciting, fights that will open up the card. It's going to be a fast night. We only have 8 fights on the card. So you get in, you'll get out, you'll get ready for Christmas. Come enjoy Seasons Beatings and get your tickets, and we'll see you there.
That's awesome.
Guys, go to cagetix.com to get your tickets. It'll be a fun show on Friday.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I really appreciate you guys,
man.
and thank you, Lex, again. Thank you.
All right. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the Heat tonight. We'll have a full recap. Heat and Sixers. Enjoy it, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.